Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to the Community Forum of the Data Society, the last one of this year. This year that has been a very special year because it's the year of the celebration of our 25th anniversary. We have had a lot of very interesting activities along the year. This I can't imagine a better way to go ending finalizing the work of this anniversary celebration with a discussion like the one we are having today. The topic today is a very popular topic, something that we are discussing in every corner of the world, and everybody is speaking about the same. That is the impact of the new technologies and internet in education. The world is working under the assumption that everybody is connected. So the all the things we do every day, paying our bills, buying tickets for a concert, paying taxes, buying clothes, and accessing internet education opportunities is something that we assume that is available for everybody. But it's not true. Half of the world population is not connected yet. And this is something that requires urgent actions. As we have presented in our Global Internet Report that was launched earlier this year in September, the new gap that we're seeing is the gap in opportunities. All this, the half of the population of the world that is not connected to the internet is not having access, not only to the internet itself, is not having access to all the opportunities that are available on the internet. And education is one of those things. But why this is important? Why this topic that we are discussing today is very important for us, for the internet society? As I said before, we are looking for innovative approaches for connecting the people that is not connected yet. Of course, the market will connect more people, and we will have more people connected next year and the other year after that. But it's not enough because the urgency that I spoke about. And then, when we think about the deployment of national programs for introducing internet in the public education systems, we are thinking about people, children that will be connected. The impact of those national programs in connecting the unconnected will be very huge, very huge. And it's not only that they will not only target the children, it will also have impact on their families that will have the opportunity to be in touch with internet and all the other related benefits. But the second reason, because this is very important. So the first reason, as I say, is the huge impact that those programs could have in connecting the unconnected. Second one is that it addresses one of the specific sustainable development goals, those goals that have been adopted by the international community through the United Nations in 2015. It is supposed that those are the goals for the whole world. And the goal number 4 is about education, is inclusive and quality education. And education is presented as the foundation to improve people's lives. So if we really want to have an impact of the technologies in improving the life of the people, that is something that is in the genes of the internet society. So this is important to use those technologies for really improving the quality of the education and making the education more inclusive. The third reason is that when we talk about the challenging world and how the internet and technologies are changing the world and presenting a very challenging world for the future generations, creating digital skills in the children is a key issue for giving them the tools to really be taking advantage of the evolution of the technology in the world and being successful in this for facing the challenges that this evolving world is presenting. So those are some of the reasons, because we really are worried, not worried, that we care about those things. And we have invited very prestigious speakers for discussing this issue today. And I will pass the floor to the moderator. And I thank very much Beppe Trassini. Beppe Trassini is a senior specialist in the Network Economies Program of the International Development Research Center, IDRC of Canada. IDRC is a very prestigious organization that have played a very important role in the development of ICTs and Internet around the world. Ben previously served as director of the Institute for Connectivity in the Americas, ICA. He was policy advisor to the General Secretary of the International Telecommunications Union, ITU, and a member of the Executive Secretary of the UN ICT Task Force. And is well recognized in Latin America for his contribution to the Internet development. He was awarded a few years ago with the Trayectoria Award that is presented by LACNIC in Latin America to the people that have played a significant role in the evolution and development of Internet for Latin America and the Caribbean. So we are very proud to have you, Ben, here participating in this forum. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raul. Thank you very much for the presentation. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to be invited to moderate this panel. The topic is extremely important for the present and the future of our societies. The panelists you managed to bring to this table are of excellent and top quality, so it would be a pleasure to moderate this session. We will try to make this session as fluid, flexible, and interesting as possible. Therefore, we will do only one brief presentation, and then we will move on to discussions and questions with the speakers. We will do the presentation by Dick Hasted on research recently carried on by his institution. And then later I will introduce the speakers and we will start with discussions, questions and answers by the speakers. For those participating from the community, as it was indicated before, for those that are joining now, please, we encourage you to post questions on the chat and to raise your hand if you want to make any comments or participate in any way. After the exchanges with the speakers, we will open the floor for questions from the public. We'll take 4 or 5 questions and 2 or 3 direct participation from the audience. So with that said, let me introduce Mr. Dirk Hasted. He's the Executive Director of the International Association for the Evaluation of Educational Achievement. He has very interesting research to share with us. So please, Dirk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ben, very much for this introduction. I think we all share the opinion that Internet is a very important area of expertise that we need, and digital literacy is important for the world. And not only that half of the world is not connected, as Raul said, but for the other half, it's questionable if they can deal and operate in that area. So I'd like to share some results of our studies which can give you some input on that. Okay, here's my short intervention that I'd like to give. We have a computer information literacy that we conducted in 2013, and we conducted that in 21 educational systems across the world. And I'll show you some findings. There's a myth, as we saw, that equipping schools with computers will automatically lead to innovative modern teaching methods. Actually, what we saw in our study is that in schools, computers were mostly used for word processing or presentations, computer-based informations, or in tutorial software, so replacing traditional methods. But the more complex applications like simulations and modeling software, so concept mapping software, was rarely used in schools by the teachers, although And here you see it's 3 to 4% of the teachers reported that they used it in the countries. But we had 80% of the schools being equipped with this software, as reported by technical coordinators and principals. And what we saw actually, that the major obstacle, as reported by teachers, principals, and also students, is that the teachers didn't feel confident in using and teaching ICT literacy skills. So their ICT self-efficacy was a major obstacle. The lack of ICT resources in schools nearly didn't play any role as an obstacle for computer usage. And I'd also like to share you some results of the PEARLS study that we just released yesterday together with UNESCO to shed some light on the Sustainable Development Goals. We had 15 countries participating in a module that we call ePEARLS, assessing how grade 4 students can work in an internet environment. And these are the 14 countries and 2 benchmark entities that we had participating. And we presented students with a simulated internet environment, and a teacher avatar gave them the task to respond to some questions and maneuver within the internet that we provided. We saw that Singapore was the top performing country, followed by Norway and Ireland. And the students in all participating educational systems were good to excellent readers. And they also reported a high degree of self-efficacy of computer use. One thing that I found very interesting is not the amount of time that students use computers, but what they use them for, what played a major role. So 34% of the students reported to prepare reports for schoolwork at least 30 minutes per day. And their achievement in reading was much higher than those who spend less time. Actually, the usage for other purposes like Googling or so did not play a major role. We also saw that a high access of digital devices at home had a high impact on students' ability to work effectively in the internet environment.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I just wondered if you were meant to be sharing some slides. It's Carly Morris here. We can't see your slides. I just wanted to check if you were meant to be sharing those.
Sorry, I was meant sharing them.
Sorry about that interruption. I just think you were referring to some slides. I just wanted to let you know we couldn't see them.
Thank you very much for that.
That's okay.
Can you see anything now?
I think you just need to select the PowerPoint screen when you click share screen. Yes, and then the PowerPoint slideshow on the right, I think, is the one that you're meant to be sharing.
I did that before. Sorry for that. Can we see it now?
We can see your main desktop at the moment. There it is. That's it. Thank you. Well done.
Sorry, there seemed to be some delay in this connection. Well, actually, I'm sorry that you couldn't see my slides, and I think we can provide them later on. What we found actually is that the major obstacle of students in schools using computers seem to be that teachers don't feel confident in using and teaching computer digital literacy skills. And that was reported throughout all participating countries. And we have seen that it's a topic that can be taught. And we also see that students who are not taught these skills in schools will not taught at all. So there's a big risk of a digital divide. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk, for the presentation. Very interesting, very useful. I think it will trigger a number of questions from the audience. And it's a valuable contribution to understanding a number of these puzzles related to the introduction of digital solutions to the educational environment. For the audience, Dirk is, as I mentioned before, the Executive Director of the International Association for the Evaluation of Educational Achievements, Hamburg, Germany. And he has a doctorate degree from the University of Vienna and an extended experience on international research, studying the role of education and literacy in a large number of countries around the world. So thank you very much, Dirk. We'll be back to you with questions in a few minutes. I would like now to move to the next speaker. I will introduce speakers as we move on, and I will pose questions to allow them to elaborate on the issues that we are discussing today. So our next speaker is Miguel Brechner. He has a degree in electronics at College King's London and a master's degree in telecommunication at Imperial College London. He was a successful executive and businessman in the IT field in Uruguay until he decided to devote his days to bringing education, digital solutions to education. In 2005, he resigned to all executive positions and became the director of LATU, the technology agency in Uruguay, and later became president of the initiative that today Uruguay has as a major national policy and plan in the education is Plan CEIBA. So please welcome Miguel Brechner. Miguel, as these issues start to unfold, there's a number of studies similar to one that Dirk just presented that has started to point to the fact that the simple integration of digital solutions to the classroom is not enough to improve learning. So what are your views based on the experience of CEIBA and your knowledge from international experience on how technology can accelerate pedagogy and learning in today's educational systems?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I think the first thing we have to understand is that technology has to adapt to the situation of the teachers and not the other way around. This has a lot to do on how we envision technology, because technology has not been able to influence very much in education. In Uruguay, what we separate very clearly what things technology can do that have nothing to do with pedagogy, and it's pure technology. When you put books into tablets or laptops, it's technology. You allow people to have devices with inside material. That doesn't improve reading. When you put platform to access homework, is technology. It has nothing to do with pedagogy. So we've separated very thoroughly technology to help the access of books. You have to have other things, and what we expect to do with pedagogy. And in the pedagogy side, we want technology to be, there is not the main issue. Technology has to be transparent. For us, it's very important to, we can discuss that later, is if of problem solving, we want he appears at the end where he finds that to solve a problem he needs to build a robot, or he has to put a sensor, or he has to do other things, use a camera, but not how do we push technology? We have to push problem solving. So if you have to push problem solving, at the end of the day, mathematics, physics, chemistry will be mixed with robotics, with sensors. So that's basically how we envision. Either it's a pure technology issue, and then we don't mind. I mean, we have video conference equipment in all the public schools that are urban, and we are teaching 80,000 students a week English, and this is done with teachers all over the world. But that you need a fiber optics, high quality video conference, and then the teacher can be in Philippines and the students in Uruguay, and the dialogue is perfect. But that doesn't improve the pedagogy. It improves that you learn English instead of having the teacher in the classroom. We have the teacher remote. So we need to separate very clearly about problem solving, and then how technology is simple and accessible.
Thank you very much, Miguel. Very, very interesting contribution in that sense. Let's move to another part of the world. Let me move to Jordan, where we have Shireen Yaqub. Shireen is the Chief Executive Officer of EDRAC. Shireen is leading this initiative in the Arab world with online learning platforms. So we will let her explain a bit more what is EDRAC and what it does. But let me say that Shireen is a certified instructional designer from the Association for Talent Development and holds several certificates from Harvard University and Georgetown University and Georgetown Institute. So Shireen, tell us a little bit more about EDRAC, purpose, vision, achievements, and why is open educational digital content in Arabic so important in the MENA region? I'm not sure if Shireen, you're...
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, not before.
All right.
Hello,
Thank
welcome.
you very much. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and I look forward to an exciting discussion. EDRAC is an initiative of the Queen Rania Foundation for Education and Development in Jordan, and it's a platform that offers free, high-quality online courses in Arabic for learners across the MENA region. In 2014, when we launched the platform, we have set out to revolutionize access and delivery of education in the Arab world to enable Arab societies to seize their potential through providing them with high quality online and also blended learning opportunities. So since our launch, we have offered around 79 MOOCs, massive open online courses, and we have reached to date 1.5 million learners from across the MENA region. We're very proud of our learners who use the platform to either bridge the skills gap they have. They use it for continuous and lifelong learning, and it's also leveraged to serve refugees and disadvantaged communities, and we can maybe touch on that shortly when we talk about surpassing limitations related to access. Recently, or you wanted me to maybe touch upon the importance of Arabic content in online. So digital Arabic content is less than 3% while online, and while on the other hand, around 70% of the MENA region's population don't speak English. That leaves them with no way to benefit from the various resources that are available and other MOOCs, such as platforms like edX, Coursera, Udacity, and so on and so forth. So it's very important that we focus as a region on enriching open educational content and also digital content in Arabic, so that we provide access to those who need these resources, to leverage them in different ways, as I mentioned. I'd also like to touch upon our expansion into the K-12 space. We have recently received a grant from google.org, and we are upgrading our technology to offer new learning modes. In addition to the sequential learning mode, we will also have a search-based mode that will enable inquiry-based learning. We are creating open educational resources in Arabic that are aligned with national curricula in different parts of the Arab world. We're piloting with math. So starting January 2018, we will start releasing content for teachers, students, and also parents to have access to high quality learning objects in response to the national curriculum. I can see a few questions on the discussion board. Would you like me to take them, or should I keep going?
No, we'll stop here, give the words to others, and then I'll come back to you.
Sure.
With more questions, and
Okay.
then we will take questions from the audience directed to you. So thank you very much, Shireen. Excellent. And we start to have get a flavor that there is no one solution that fits all. Certainly, educational solutions need to be. There are some global learnings, but there are a number of very local solutions that we need to pay attention to. Having said that, let me move to Slovenia, where we have Tommy Dolenk. Tommy is an MSc in computer science. He's the head of the users communication at ARNES. ARNES is the academic and research network of Slovenia, which provides internet services to the research, educational, cultural institutions in the country. With the ARNES team, Tommy takes part in managing a service portfolio, maintaining contact with user community, and engaging in national projects and strategies, particularly those related to the introduction of ICTs to school. So welcome, Tommy. And let me ask you, the people generally refer to children and young people as digital natives. They certainly will live in a world in which artificial intelligence, automation, online work will profoundly transform work as we know it today. So what, in your views and in those of people in Slovenia, think, what are the skills that can and should they master to thrive in such a digitized world? Also, there's a buzzword that we often hear these days related to computational thinking. What does that really mean, and do you think it is an important skill for the 21st century? Tommy?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hello everybody, and thank you first for inviting me. I feel really honored to speak at this forum. So, as you mentioned, Ben, I work for National Academic and Research Network, so we've been bringing, let's say, internet in the sense of infrastructure and services to schools, but very soon we've been facing frustrations of our users, both pupils and teachers. So that's my viewpoint from which I'm speaking. Well, speaking of digital natives, I've been hearing this term all over past 20 years or more, and then it's often a kind of misconception. I'd like to use the quote you provided me that to them technology is like the air. And I say yes, but it's in a sense they don't have to think how to breathe. But they may not know a lot of of what the air is composed, and do they have any ways to detect whether it is polluted and so on, if I take this analogy further. So I'm thinking this way: in any place and time, a young person gets prepared to face the world and to find the way around the world, to interact with it, and this also is happening in school through the education. So it means, you know, to learn to survive, to be successful in this world, and it means everything from crossing the street to shopping, and the foremost social interaction, acquiring information of the world. So in the essence, learning is something we learn from the experience, from the adults, from teachers, from our parents. And suddenly all this is happening through the internet. So what does it mean? Yes, we do still cross the street on our 2 feet, but even that we are doing with the navigation app in our hands, engaging in our online interaction, and by the way, not paying attention to the street very much. And by the way, the whole world is watching which street we are crossing right now, and this information is being used to shape the information we are getting next on our device. So to me, the term digital skills or digital literacy suddenly includes common understanding of all that, of all the phenomena of how the world is functioning through this digitized environment we're faced. And as I mentioned, school has always been a very natural place for a young person to learn social interaction. And being all of a sudden it's online. So it's still there, same mechanisms apply, but different medium. And somehow teachers and schools are maybe afraid of it. It's, this is something new, it is technology, we don't understand it. Yet we are the experience, I mean, they have the experience of the social interaction. So why things go wrong, why this person hates me or why he bullies me. Before it was just, you know, beating around the ears in the corridor. Now it's bullying on Facebook. And we're basically facing same mechanisms. So on one hand, schools or teachers already have the experience to transfer this knowledge to the children, and it's also part of this digital or online skills. On the other hand, of course, they have to learn something new, and we, the adults, are still learning, are still facing this reshaping of our world. So we're learning a new social skills that we already thought were learned. So think of human behavior online. It somehow it's different that we used to, and we are facing the benefits and challenges of unregulated social interaction. So we are all learning, and then the essential thing for education, finding the information online or everywhere. It means online nowadays, and critical evaluation of it. And all of a sudden, it includes all of the knowledge of the filter bubbles and the fake news. And when I was a child, I didn't have to know about copyright issues. Nowadays, I mean, at a very early stage, you have to face this. You have to know something about that. And as you mentioned, the computational thinking, that's possibly another misconception. I would venture it's an important skill in any century, in the sense that it includes a set of problem solving and cognitive skills to, let's say, analyze and represent the problem, breaking it into small parts, solving it, developing logic argument. I mean, I learned my stuff, programming and mathematics in 20th century. It was very useful then. So I believe I learned even to build my arguments in interaction. So it is an important skill, yes. But it's also important, I believe, to recognize that not all, in fact, a minority of real-time problems can be completely analyzed in this matter, because life contains many very complex or fuzzy unknowns. And our brain operates this way, sometimes not very logical, but through pattern recognition, through trying out what works and what doesn't work. And nowadays, artificial intelligence is starting mimicking this behavior. It operates in the same way. We hear things like big data and analysis, and that's a magic. Yeah, there's a magic behind the fact that Google and Facebook can now predict your behavior better than your relatives. And I believe it's also an important part of this digital literacy to understand how this works.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. We'll move now to Uganda, where we have Patrick Muinda. Patrick works with the government of Uganda, specifically at the Ministry of Education and Sports. He is the head of the Communication and Information Management Division of the ministry. And he's passionate about the use of technology to aid teaching and learning. Patrick has a computer scientist by training, has an MSc in computer science with vast experience in the use of technology for education. So welcome, Patrick. And Patrick, you know, we have heard from several of the speakers that the challenges revolve certainly on technology, certainly on infrastructure, and a number of other resources, but a lot of it on the pedagogy and how the internet and digital solutions lead to a different kind of learning and teaching. Schools are designed based on the system of the Industrial Revolution, and some are arguing today that new models need to be tested, like flip the classroom models or real-life experiences as learning labs or project-based learning. Anyway, there are a number of potential pedagogical solutions to this. So what would you suggest are the new ways in which teaching and learning should take place in a context of digital education? We cannot hear you, Patrick. I don't know if you're unmuted.
I'm hoping you can hear me now.
Yes, now yes. Now yes, we can hear you and see you.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Good morning. Good afternoon for you.
Yeah, thank you. Our situation back here in Uganda is very, very interesting. We've taken on new technologies to begin teaching students and for teachers to learn. And we have experienced quite a number of challenges, a few of which I would like to just share with you. Ever since we started the digital learning project in schools, we got to realize, just as Miguel said earlier, that technology by itself does not help in this situation at all. We got to realize that we had to go back and begin training our teachers on how technology can be used to actually carry out actual learning in classrooms. And when we did this, we got to realize that the grades of the children actually started changing, not so significantly, but especially in the science subjects, we began to realize a change. For instance, when it came to teaching of complex subjects, complex topics like simple harmonic motion, for instance, you'd find that using a chalkboard, writing on a blackboard and trying to bring out issues and concepts that are complex in nature are made much, much more simpler when we use digital science and learning using technology. So I would just like to stress that if the teachers don't really understand how to use the technology, most probably learning may not happen as effectively as we thought it would. That's our case back here in Uganda. And we're now working towards increasing the use of ICT during the teacher training process, so that when the teachers get back to the schools, they then can go ahead to teach effectively. Children and students at schools are also allowed to access these computers, and we have policy issues where use of gadgets like handheld mobile devices, use of a computer or laptop in school is still a policy issue. So this is something we're working through, and we hope that very soon there'll be policies that will allow students to have this technology. But I'm a firm believer in technology for education and use of technology to teach and to learn. That's what I'll say for now. I'll wait for further questions.
Thank you very much. Excellent contributions. Thank you. Let me go back to Dirk that opened the floor with presentation of a study. Dirk, you know, there's a significant problem in the way the educational system is currently designed, so much that most students in most countries suffer from a lack of interest, a lack of motivation. It's one of the drivers of deficient learning and significant dropout of in secondary school. Do you think the internet can make a contribution to change this situation, to stimulate motivation, interest, curiosity, so that students would engage more genuinely in their own learning process? Dirk.
Thank you. I think that's a very good question. And what we found actually is clearly that in our assessment, if we have the computer used and have the assessment in a computer environment, students seem to be much more motivated to do these assessments. So from that perspective, I would assume that if we use technology also in education in a better way, we will be able to motivate also more students. So in that sense, I think it is a clear yes. And actually, the feedback we got when we conduct our studies in 50 countries and more is that the students sometimes really appreciate it and have fun doing these assessments. Can you imagine? So in a paper and pencil world is very different. But in a computer environment, I think it is engaging for students. And if we use this, I think we can make a big step ahead in terms of education too.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you very much. An excellent contribution to this very important issue. Let me now move on to Shireen and Miguel, both. You both have been responsible in several ways for initiatives that have gone from small-scale interventions to large-scale deployments. And there is certainly a big challenge in moving small solutions, digital solutions, to very large interventions. So my question to both of you, and let's start with Shireen first and then move to Miguel, ladies first. What would you identify as key elements for a successful scaling of a digital education intervention? What are the factors that you have identified as prerequisites or crucial elements for a successful scaling? Shireen?
That's a very powerful question. I think it's all about starting with the needs, whether we're talking about teachers or students. It's not about just injecting technology and building products and assuming that they will just work and serve the purpose. It has to be very designed, and it has to have the learner or the student in mind, because, or if it's targeted at teachers, it needs to have them at the center of the design. From our experience, we have gone from 0 to 1 million in less than 3 years. And if it has shown us anything, it has shown us that there is a huge appetite for open online education, at least in the MENA region. And this is the region that I'm speaking about, but I guess it's pretty safe to assume that the situation is similar in other regions. So from our experience, it's about how to build the product in terms of thinking through the product and content development roadmaps, building the right teams, and piloting with minimum viable products before investing too heavily in solutions. You pilot with an MVP, then you keep iterating based on the feedback you get. And with technology, you can get access to data analytics. So we have leveraged the data we've been gathering for 3 years now to better understand the needs of both our teachers and students who are using the platform. And we have made so many changes, whether to the content that we offer or the technology itself, through integrating these needs and responding to them.
Thank you very much, Shireen. Miguel, your experience, and please.
Yes, I would summarize in a couple of different points. First of all, it's very, I mean, just to make it clear for everybody, Uruguay has around 700,000 students with either laptops or tablets, with internet in all the schools, with fiber optics in all the urban areas, okay? So the first thing we have to understand is you need a separate institutional design, a separate institution to do this. This is a very complex thing, and one of the mistakes that many countries do is they put it into the Minister of Education. It's like building airplanes inside the Minister of Education, right? It's a complex, very, very complex issue, right? So a good thing is to have a separate institution. We are like an agency for innovation in pedagogy and technology for the educational system. Our purpose is to serve them. It's very similar in a way to what CARIS does in Korea, right? So we need first an institution, a different design, who does it. Second thing is you have to be very clear what you have to do and what you don't have to do. I mean, if the first objective is deployment of technology, you have to deploy technology without promising anything in education. If the second objective is after deploying technology, we do platforms for education, we do pedagogy, we have to be very clear, because in the past, the biggest problem has been to promise a silver bullet that does not exist. So it is very important to put the objectives for this institution or for the program. The fourth issue that's very important, it has to be sustainable. And you have to understand how much does it cost. In Uruguay, a student in public education costs around $2,000 per year. Our program costs $100 per year. So that's 5% of the cost of the student. So that is feasible to do a program like ours. If it would cost $10,000, it would be impossible. And it's very difficult to do it for less than $100, including laptops, repair of the laptops, all the platforms involved. And last but not least, you have to have a mentality of what they call it now of lean management. You do things, you make mistakes, you have to correct them, right? And that has to, we go back to the first point of a different organization. It's very difficult in traditional educational system with thousands and thousands of people that when you make a mistake, you correct it the same day. You cannot deploy technology without making mistakes. You cannot build platforms. You cannot intervene in pedagogy without making mistakes if you want to change the things.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you. Excellent points that will certainly contribute to our learning on this issue. Let me now move back to Patrick in Uganda. Patrick, you know, a lot of the global debate on digital education is concentrating on new pedagogies and a number of those issues. But certainly, many developing countries still suffer from challenges in the infrastructure, communication, electricity mainly, and limited budgets for schools. So in the experience of Uganda and maybe other countries in Africa that you know of, what are the possible ways in which this can be addressed? Changes in government priorities, increased attention and resources for education, or there are questions also, what's the role of the private sector in education? Should some public policies open the door for increased public-private partnerships? What is the experience in countries in Africa with supporting low-cost private solutions for education? Patrick? We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll start with the last question. We believe very, very strongly that the private sector should be part of the education enhancement and use of technology in schools. So we are actually partnering with the private people, with the private sector, to partner together with the Ministry of Education in order to reach out to students in schools. But you mentioned something very, very key and very important, and that's the fact that we have infrastructural type challenges, especially schools which are deep, far away from the city, in the rural areas. So what we have done here in Uganda is to use renewable energy sources for power supply for computing devices. We've partnered with various companies and organizations that have worked with us to provide solar-powered computers, which require very, very minimal amount of power. And these are being used in schools together with solar power and batteries. But this takes us back to the issue of sustainability. We've realized that maintaining solar batteries and panels is a very expensive venture. So yes, it takes me back to the question you asked about partnering with the private sector. We do partner with the private sector and various education development partners who do support us in various using funds from various sources in order for this sustainability of use of solar panel equipment, batteries, and the like to keep on powering these computers back in the schools. But this also goes back to what I mentioned earlier. When all this technology was taken to the schools initially, we got to realize that the technology wasn't being used. It wasn't being used by the students. They didn't know what to do effectively because the teachers couldn't help them, because the teachers also didn't know what to do then. So my advice is, and I would like to emphasize, that the teachers must be properly trained to use this technology. That's something that I really, really stress from experience, because we've had disastrous investments where so much money has been put into ICT in education, and the computers are left in the boxes and not even set up to be used because there's nobody who is willing to get embarrassed, because here the students will simply laugh at the teacher if the teacher is unable to use the computer. So many times the teachers need to save face and don't want to lose out on how the students perceive them. So they simply decide to shun the technology and stick to using the blackboard and chalk. So this is something we're really working through, and we hope and trust that ICT in schools and in education will be something that will be embraced effectively after we've succeeded in the current strategy of training the teachers so that ICT may be used very effectively for pedagogy, both teaching and learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Excellent contribution. Thank you. And then we'll go to Tommy for the last question posed by the moderation. Tommy, there are a number of studies recently that have started to point out to the issue that maybe technology in the classroom might be undermining the learning process of students. And I understand that you're also quite interested about the role of cell phones in education, smartphones. What would you respond or react to this issue? Do you think it's good to have technology in the classroom? Do you think the classrooms should concentrate on not technology environment, that the technology can be used before or after the classroom? Please.
Thank you. Well, this is by no means a trivial discussion, and I'd much like to learn from my fellow panelists what they think about it. We are currently having a very hot discussion in Slovenia among teachers themselves about this very issue, because it's all the same story. What do we need of technology in the classroom to make learning and teaching better? And of course, there's no simple answer to that. I've seen teachers doing wonders 20 years ago with simple email and chat and simple pages, and now with every available technology. I am no expert in pedagogy, so I can't speak much of learning methods, but I read and understand the research that you mentioned showing that device itself is a distraction, and it's sometimes very intuitive. And speaking of these devices and constant online presence, of course, they are both. They're very useful tools and they are distractions. So the way to use it, I mean, it opens a whole set of questions. So how to, for example, how to control it if you're talking smartphones or mobile devices in the classroom, you know, that apart from being a distraction, I mean, in seeking the information out, they also use it to do other stuff or to cheat with the answers. And so how to control it? Do you want to control it? And it's also this question of digital divide. Some people have smartphones, some don't. So is the school right place to bridge this gap? I believe yes. But on the other hand, teachers cry out, please let them work for a little while without those devices. Let them learn not being dependent all the time on these devices. So it's really not a trivial discussion.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. Excellent. So we'll stop here and we'll move to raise questions from the chat and from the audience. And in that sense, unless the question that was posed has a specific person to respond, the floor is open for any of the panelists to respond. So let's pose the question that Micheline from Burkina Faso have just raised, which I think it's an extremely important one, and it's how to enable and promote access to ICT and e-literacy for girls. The whole issue of gender equity and gender integration and mechanisms, policies, and strategies to raise the opportunities for girls to be educated and to be part of society in a more equal manner. So the floor is open for anyone in the panel that might want to respond. If no one responds, then I'll take the prerogative of picking one of you for the response. Please, go ahead.
Well, thank you. I think this is a very good question. Actually, what we found in our studies in a lot of countries, we have 22 countries participating in that, and we have seen that in all but one country, the girls outperform the boys in terms of computer literacy skills. So I think it's also one of these myths that computers are a boys' domain. It is clear that we have in a lot of countries still the issue that girls are sometimes left out of the education system. But I think as soon as girls are included in the education system, our results show that their achievement in terms of computer literacy is rather high, and they outperform their male counterparts.
Thank you, Dirk. Any other panelists that want to take the challenge of responding to this?
I think that, I mean, in our experience, when motivated, everything works fantastic. Still, there's a big push that we have to do to encourage girls to be more participative. And we are doing that, we are promoting that, we are pushing more and more girls into the robotics and the programming and the computational thinking fields. It has to be a collective work to show that this is not a man thing, quote unquote. And at the same time, it is very, very important that we have to go and understand what the tests look like if there's not biased against the girls instead of men. So there has to do, it has to be one, as we have to get in one of the big missions, not only to have the technology access to all the bridges that put the girls in a less favorable condition than boys.
Thank you, Miguel. One more panelist that might want to comment on this. Shireen, I don't know if you're experienced in MENA region. You want to add anything, or we move to the next question?
Where's raise hand?
We can, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. Do we have a question from Paula? I see Paula on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, here it goes. I was just asking if any woman wanted to talk about it, because we are talking about a gender issue, and we have like men talking about it. So I was wondering if any woman wanted to say something about this. So that's me, I think. But anyway, the thing is, I think we need to develop a conscience in girls that ICTs are their field as well, because I mean we are really used to see men all the way, like in every if you see like not only in universities, but men are used because of this whole concept that we have from long time ago, that we are still fighting against it. So I think women should feel comfortable by using technology and by really learning that, because sometimes we are teach people say to us that this is not for us, that we are not capable of that. And I really think that we should start to change it from the base. Like when you're a young girl, no one can say to you that you can do that, I mean, I'm a lawyer now, but when I was younger, everyone would say, hey, you shouldn't do anything related to ICTs because that's not your field. You're not going to be good at it. So starting with girls like in really young age, for them to feel comfortable with that, to feel confident, and to really try to breach this gender gap, because we do have this general thinking that women are not capable. Then that's not definitely not true. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of really great women, and we need more women to feel like represented, to see them talking about it, to see them showing to other girls, to other women that we are capable. So it's the whole educational from like young women, young girls, see themselves, really empower them to feel comfortable with it. So I'm sorry if I think was it.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Thank you very much for your intervention. Let me say that this is not a women's problem. This is a social problem. And this is a problem that we all need to address, men and women and men. It's a gender, but not a women's issue. So we completely agree with your contribution and intervention. We had the contributions of men because
No,
of
I'm sorry.
random
Yeah, of
intervention,
course.
but
I'm not saying
anyway,
that's not social. I'm not saying that's not everyone to work on that. We do have to work on that. Everyone, men, women. I do understand that. But the thing that I'm saying is that me as a woman, I would like to see another woman talking about it. It's like feeling represented to really. I don't know. It's just a feeling. I do know that we have to work. Everyone has to work on that. It's a social problem. It's a world's problem. But when you see a woman, you feel
it's more than
represented.
yes, it's more than a feeling, Paula. It's more than a feeling. It's representation, and we completely agree
Yeah,
with
of
you.
course.
So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah,
you.
that's what I
Thank you
meant.
very much for
Thank
that. And we'll move to other questions that we have been posed on the chat. There is a concern from several of you on issues related to open source technology and non-proprietary platforms and openness. So there's a question from Siba Surabami from India that asks, does ISOC in education recognize the need to promote and emphasize open source technology, non-proprietary platforms, and openness? But the question is not for ISOC, it's for the panelists. What do you think should open source technology and non-proprietary platforms as well as openness, what's the role it should play in digital education? Anyone? Shireen, maybe? Yes, and then follow up on the gender question.
I don't know if... Okay, I can go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so we've built the IDRAC platform using the Open edX technology that was developed by the MIT Harvard Consortium edX. And when we've done that, we've also, we've Arabized the technology and contributed RTL, right to left, or support for Unicode back to Open edX, and now it can be used by others. So we are definitely firm believers in the importance of open source, whether it's the technology or it's the content. In fact, the default license we have on IDRAC is the Creative Commons license that allows educators to reuse, repurpose non-commercially our content to leverage them in any way they like. And same goes for learners themselves. And this allows for the best investment of efforts. There's absolutely no need for reinventing the wheel and for investing in initiatives that have already been created and are being used elsewhere. I understand the need for some initiatives to be self-sustainable, to generate income in order to be able to cover some of the running expenses. However, there are creative ways that we can go about this. But at the core of content, we're all for open content and open education.
A few comments. Our Plan Ceibal is full. It's a full advocate of open source. All the computers in the hands of the kids are open source. But as I said before, for us, it's very important what's our mission. Our mission is to empower the educational system with good technology and with good software for improving learning. And at one point, even though we were fully open source, we had a problem because we had to solve the issue of the blind children. I'm talking to you 10 years ago. There was a solution that was open, and there was a solution that was private, let's say proprietary. And the blind people wanted the teachers for the blind children and the blind community advocated that the proprietary solution was much better than the open solution. And we decided to buy it. So we need to be flexible. We have to understand what's our goal. I am a big defender of open source. Obviously, most of the stuff has to be in open source. But if you find something that's incredibly good, like a game to learn things in mathematics, and it's not in open source, what do? You don't buy it. You don't install it. It's a complicated issue. Our main mission is to improve learning.
Thank you, Miguel. I see Karim raising hands. Karim, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I am from Bangladesh, Mohammad Razaul Karim. I want to know, you have any Internet Society and Education have any plan to take place in Bangladesh and take teaching to the teacher for the next future student of our digital world? Hello, sir. Hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you. I don't know if the panelists were able to hear you. If anyone can take the question. I think your question is more directed to ISOC, but we don't have any ISOC member staff as panelists. So I'm not all that sure they would be able to, panelists would be able to answer the question.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask another question to panelists that are related to the role of family parents in this transformation towards digital education. Karim, can you mute your phone, your speakers, or somebody else? I don't know who. There. Thank you. There's a very important role, I think, personally, that family and parents could play or should play. So Lenny is asking, is anyone focusing on family context for digital so that young people and their parents and other siblings can learn together and from each other? Also, Joyce is asking, how can parents influence the school and teachers to support digital skills development? Before anyone answers, I'll like to bring a brief anecdote. We at IDRC support digital education projects around the world. I'm personally working on several of them. And we have one in Colombia where computers are being integrated into schools of low-income communities. Parents have been a key part of this process. And it was interesting to learn that they were invited to the university because the local university, AFIT University, is involved in the project. They were invited to the university to learn about the project and to participate and to be taught and so on. This going to the university made them lose the fear that they had about higher education. They started to see the university as a place where maybe their children one day could go. And that dramatically changed the whole attitude towards education and learning of the parents. There were interviews on them, and they said, well, you know, I'm not anymore afraid of higher education, and I want my children to go to the university. And so they've been pushing hard their kids to study and one day go to university. So my question to the panel, posed by a number of those in the chat, is what do you think is the role of parents in this process? In what ways a program or a policy should integrate them into the learning process? Maybe some of those that have not commented before, Tommy, Patrick.
I'm trying to put up my hand. I don't know if you can see it. May I proceed?
Oh, yes, now I see you. Please, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I would like to say that we as a country already have students receiving work, homework that's supposed to be done on a piece of paper, on a book or something, being actually submitted online, where the teachers are where the parents are supposed to work together with their children. And when this happens, a parent then does this and also causes the other children to come in and want to participate, to learn and see how a sibling is doing work online. And when this work is done, it's then submitted online. So I think your question is very pertinent. Families come in to help a child to appreciate the technology, but also to enjoy doing the work. And the outcome here is better grades, because the child is not all by themselves. They're actually working together with the parent and with the children around at home, with the siblings, and it makes the whole learning process, the process of doing their homework very, very effective and has a very positive outcome. That's what I thought I should share with you as something happening here in Uganda.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Excellent contribution. Shireen, I see that you want to comment also. Please go ahead.
Yes, because we're launching in January, I won't be able to share the results now, but I can talk about our vision. We will be launching features for parents to be engaged with the learning of their children. Oftentimes, we hear stories from parents struggling with private tutoring and all the costs that are associated with that, or that they are not educated, especially in some disadvantaged communities, that they are not educated to the level where they're able to help their children in certain homeworks and concepts. And in addition to these two segments, we also hear from parents who would like to engage with their children's learning. They'd like to use the time the family spends at home and direct it towards something useful. There's a huge uptake among children nowadays for the use of technology, but it's mainly directed towards fun and entertainment. What we're trying to do with the new platform is to introduce features and introduce learning objects that are delivered in a fun way. It's like an edutainment approach where they can also engage with the content beyond the classroom work. Obviously, the content can be used for remediation or scaffolding, and also accounting for high performers who are not satisfied with their experiences in the classroom. So through this platform, we're able to link the parents' account with their children's account so that they can also have a data-driven approach to assessing where their children are. And through using adaptive technology, the platform will be suggesting content and providing them with additional content that they can review in the form of playlists to help direct their learning journey. And all of that will be done through a gamified approach that will excite both parents and children to engage together in a learning experience. I think you are muted. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was saying that anyone else from the panel that want to respond to the issue of parents and role of parents in supporting education. Tommy?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hi.
Tommy, we have Liliane Com online, so we'll let her participate and then we'll go to you.
Okay.
Liliane?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Liliane Com from ISOC Cameroon chapter. And then, please, I will express myself in French because I'm more comfortable in French. Can I?
All right. Yes, we'll do our better to translate.
We'll need translation. We'll need translation.
Ok, thank you. So then I will first talk about, je vais d'abord parler du premier cas que Paola a invoqué. Yes.
Liliane, are you able to articulate your comments in English? Would it be possible?
Yes, it will be possible, but I was too slow, so I don't know if I could try that way.
Because we might not translate properly. I don't know, ISOC colleagues, if you...
Okay, so let me try in English, and then I will go slowly.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll accept the slow English.
Okay, so I will first of all talk about the point that Paola said about the gender equality in ICT sector. Okay, here in Cameroon, we have there are many young girls, women, who are just involved on it. But the problem that we are facing is the thing about encouragement. Women are not very, how they say, like, fear to express themselves for what all they know. They are something like they fear to do what all the things. It's difficult for me to speak in English. Okay, let me go first. C'est beaucoup de femmes veulent bien s'intéresser au domaine des TIC ici, mais manque d'encouragement. Elles ont beaucoup plus besoin qu'on soit un peu derrière elles et qu'on leur dise qu'elles peuvent aller dans ce sens. Donc, du coup, je pense que si on avait beaucoup plus d'encouragement qui venait, par exemple, que ce soit des communautés internationales, locales et même de nos parents, ou même peut-être de nos enseignants, ça nous aiderait certainement beaucoup plus en fait, aux femmes à s'intégrer beaucoup plus au domaine des TIC.
Liliane, bonjour, c'est Joyce. Je vais vite traduire. Bonjour.
Okay, merci.
I'll quickly translate what Lilian just said, summarizing. But women, what she's saying is that women are really need much more encouragement and motivation to be integrated much more into ICT activities.
Okay.
So the encouragement and education is really key in the integration of women.
Okay, exactly. Okay, the second point is about les logiciels libres. Alors, pour ce qui est des logiciels libres, je pense que ce sera très intéressant qu'on intègre ça dans le système déjà éducatif parce que déjà c'est libre, c'est moins cher. Déjà ici, le système éducatif est un peu assez complexe, étant donné que ce n'est que dans les zones urbaines où on trouve des salles de classe où il y a encore quelques bancs où les élèves sont capables de s'acheter le strict minimum de matériel didactique pour travailler. Donc, dans les zones rurales ou même peut-être dans d'autres régions du Cameroun qui ne sont pas forcément rurales, le système éducatif déjà normal est assez archaïque, difficile. Les élèves manquent même des tables bancs sur lesquels ils vont travailler. Donc, penser à des logiciels libres, pour moi, ce sera une solution, un premier pas de solution pour résoudre le problème d'intégration des TIC dans le système éducatif.
So what Lilian was saying was that the use of open source would be very, very, openly available software is very important to integrate in the system. The system in Cameroon is already very complex. In urban situations, it's already very difficult, but if you move to rural, it's even more complex with very scarcely equipped schools. And so the price, the cost of access to ICT sources with applications is making it very complex, and so open source approach is very important.
Thank you, Joyce. And then Ellie, I will talk about l'apport des parents dans l'éducation. Déjà, étant donné que les ICT sont en train d'entrer maintenant, sont en train de prendre de plus en plus d'ampleur, les parents déjà n'ont pas assez de connaissances de l'utilisation des TIC, il faut le dire. Donc, c'est un peu difficile pour le parent, lui, de pouvoir accompagner son enfant dans ce qu'il apprend à l'école. C'est pas qu'avant, par exemple, quand l'élève veut rentrer à la maison, s'il n'a pas de répétiteur, le parent peut peut-être lui dire que bon, l'apprendre à lire. Mais aujourd'hui, le parent, déjà, il est un analphabète des TIC. Alors, apprendre quelque chose à l'enfant que lui-même, il ne connaît pas, ça devient encore beaucoup plus compliqué. Donc, si on pouvait mettre en place, par exemple, des outils didactiques où les parents, un truc vraiment assez très léger, où les parents pourraient de temps en temps, ou d'une manière ou d'une autre, encourager les parents à s'intéresser véritablement, que ce soit pour leur travail, que ce soit pour leur jeu ou toute autre chose, ce serait bien parce qu'ils pourront au moins avoir déjà un sujet de discussion commun avec leurs enfants. Parce que beaucoup, aujourd'hui, ils apprennent les TIC sur le tas, ou peut-être au niveau de l'école et au niveau du travail, pardon. Et puis, du coup, ça devient difficile d'encourager l'enfant qui est à la maison, vu que lui-même ne sait même pas de quoi il s'agit. Il ne voit pas l'emploi, il ne voit pas trop bien la portée parce que c'est un truc qui est encore assez nouveau pour lui.
Liliane, je vais résumer un tout petit peu pour raccourcir. What Liliane was mentioning was that in terms of parents and ICT, ICT is taking much more space into the life of their children, but the parents don't really have the knowledge about ICT, so it's difficult for them to guide their children. We see that a lot of parents are illiterate in ICT-related issues, and it's even more difficult for them to encourage their children or to accompany them on the studying journey. So some light form of encouragement or education to bring parents to the use of ICT would be important.
Okay, thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Lilian, and thank you, Joyce. Thank you both for excellent contributions. Tommy, we need to start wrapping up. So a very, very, very short comment from your side.
May I have the floor briefly?
Then Lilian, we need you to close the microphone. And who's asking for the floor?
Akimbo Adebomi for the transcript.
Okay, Akimbo, please go ahead briefly because we have 4 minutes to go.
Okay, based on the time constraint, I'll just simply go into two brief interjections that I feel we should take note of. ISOC, I believe, should be able to begin to look at accrediting centers, safer internet centers across Africa. This gives us leverage for ISOC in such countries or ISOC chapters in such countries to be able to work together with this particular set of centers and be able to make available the internet, if possible, at a free charge for the gender issue we are discussing about. Also, parents can be encouraged to come to those centers to learn a little, because like Lilian said, there is a gap between the children or the student of today and the parent itself. Some of our parents do not know how to use this gadget and cannot follow up or measure to standard with it. Finally, on a short note, I think there should be a platform where such discussion as this become a roller coaster to a community that begins to say, we said this, what can we do moving forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Kimbo. Thank you very much. Tommy, sorry, but we ran out of time for further contributions. I'm very sorry about that. The topic has been extremely engaging. Contributions were very rich and valuable. I think ISOC will bring about some briefs on the learning process that we experience carrying on this excellent forum. So let me stop here and pass on the word to Raul for a closing. Raul, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have been amazed by the level of the discussion, the level of our panelists, but also the discussion in the chat. And don't forget that additionally it has been streamed by live stream, several Facebook channels and our YouTube channel. So I'm sure that hundreds of people have been following this discussion from different parts of the world, and other hundreds will surely look to the videos when we make them available on our website, and we will share with you the links for finding the recording of this discussion. So thank you very much, Ben, for the excellent job you did as a moderator. That was not an easy task. Really, you provided a very lively discussion, Ben, and with very good questions and addressing good questions to our excellent panelists. And thank you very much to all our panelists, Tommy, Miguel, Shiren, Patrick. This would not have been successful without your participation. Really, I know that you have a lot of more things to share with us, but this is just 90 minutes. But this is the good thing, that all of us really are engaged and want to continue discussing this, and this is what we really expected. We expected to bring some level of inspiration, not only for the people who participated in this call, but also for the people that is not here. And we need to bring the inspiration for them to really make progress on this issue that is one of the most important topics of our times. And the internet society can play a role here. We do. Somebody asked about what do we do with this. We are working a lot on those things. Our chapters are mobilized. This year, the competition that we organize every year among our chapters, the chapter-thon, is based on internet and education, on connected schools. So we will continue doing that, supporting our local communities. But we also can play a role doing these kind of things, being a convener, taking advantage of the multiple contacts we have in the multiple levels in all the stakeholder groups, governments, policymakers, education, our community in all the world. And this is what we will continue doing, because this is not just about connecting a few schools. It's not about connecting a few children. It's connecting all the schools in the world. It's connecting all the children in the world for helping the people from all around the world to really have access to the opportunities that are available on the internet and be prepared for the challenging times we are facing. So thank you very much for joining us for this forum. And I hope you continue, Albert, to participate in the future community forums, not only about internet and education, but also about other important things for our communities. Thank you all.
Thank you and bye.